Hello and welcome to a fresh new episode of Dynamic CIO Talk Show. This is where we get thought leaders, technology experts, and practitioners to share their ideas, thoughts, and action plans when it comes to digital transformation and technology. In today's show, I have the privilege of having with me Lingraju Sawkar, fondly known as Lingu, and I'll be using the short form of his name. Lingu is the president of Kyndryl India. He previously held the roles of General Manager, Global Technology Services, IBM India, South Asia Pacific, and Vice President, Infrastructure Services, Sales, IBM Asia Pacific. So as we know, last year, IBM completed the process of spinning off its GTS business into Kyndryl, which was a separate public traded company. Kyndryl was launched as one of the world's leading IT infrastructure providers with a claim of a differentiated approach that integrates development, security, and operations. The company today has over 90,000 employees globally, who offer advisory, implementation, and managed services to a host of customers in the range of 4,000 and above, including a large majority of the Fortune 100 companies across sectors. Kyndryl is also laser focused on providing everything from traditional hosting and networking services to transformational services like modernization of mission critical infrastructure and hybrid and multi-cloud management for the world's leading enterprises. So without waiting more, let me get Lingu straight into the conversation. Welcome to the show, Lingu. How are you doing?
Hey, Rahul, I'm doing very well. And thank you very much for having me on this discussion.
So the first question is a very softer question, Lingu. What does Kyndryl mean? Though I did Google it, I know what it is, but let our viewers know firsthand from you.
Hey, thanks, Rahul. Actually, it's not a very soft question. It's a very deep question. I would look at it. I mean, the first time when we all got the name Kyndryl, we were all trying to wonder what Kyndryl, right? But then as we got a little deeper and we got the understanding, it's basically a reflective of who we are. Technically, Kyndryl as a word doesn't mean anything by itself, but when you split it up, the kin part of Kyndryl is about kinship, people, relationship, and everything about the fact that we are a people-based business with customers and with our talent. The drill is basically the trendril of a plant, which reflects the aspiration for growth. It reflects the aspiration of working together a symbiotic manner, and together it's about growth and about people. So basically, that's what is the whole Kyndryl word and how it's come across. And we're very proud of the name after we got to delve deep into it. And more importantly, I think our people feel very connected to it as Kyndryl. So very proud of the name and very connected to it.
No, I'm sure since it was spinning off from IBM and it was being portrayed as a very new age company, I think the name had to be thought through very well. And I must congratulate that this is a very unique name given to a very old company, I must say. So generally, we see companies being built from ground zero, ground up, and then grow gradually. Kyndryl is a totally different story. It got spun off from IBM last year with over 90K people, presence in over 60 nations, holding 3,000 patents, and I don't know how many are in waiting, and a great set of intellectual property. That's a surprisingly unusual start. So what's the business and innovation roadmap that Kyndryl has decided for itself between now and let's say 2025?
Right, Rahul. I think if I were to look at it, right, Kyndryl was previously the Global Technology Services division of IBM. It was the largest business division of IBM focused on mission critical technology and services of clients. That's what we started off on November the 4th, when we spun out as a independent company. For us, it was all the more auspicious in India, the Diwali Muhurat time, and that's when we got listed. from where we start from, which is about 90,000 employees, 4,600 customers, 75 out of the 100 Fortune 500 companies on the list. That's where we start from. But the journey ahead is very interesting. The journey ahead is interesting because of two or three key factors. The first key factor is the opportunity on hand to basically accelerate the transformation agenda of clients through the vital systems that we manage. So that's a great area for us to look at as a modernization platform. The second is coming out from IBM, now the opportunity for us to be a technology agnostic, independent service provider by partnering with the ecosystem of hyperscalers, ecosystem of application service providers, ecosystem of the startup community, which brings in a whole lot of innovation, gives us opportunity to increase our addressable market by almost double. What was a $240 billion market is now almost a 480 in a 2-year span. So that's the second key element of it. The third element of it is basically the opportunity on hand to take in the goodness of the talent that is there and take it to a very different league in terms of the new practices that we are bringing in. So the practice of data application and AI, which sort of binds every capability together, the capability of simplifying the organization through the structural changes, the simplification of the organization through technology changes and platform-based models is where the next set of opportunity comes in. And at the core of all of it, when you talk of business, I mean, these were technology innovations. When you talk of the business innovation, I think for us, it's basically going back to what we set off ourselves as a flat, fast, and focused organization to keep things very simple, keep it flat so that we are agile. So I would put it this way from where you started with, Rahul. We have the advantage of coming in with a 100-year-old historical legacy organization, but more importantly, the ability on hand to be agile and flexible as a startup. So I would say the strength and depth of a 100-year-old transforming itself into a startup through the agility and speed. So still a $19 billion startup is how we'd like to look at it.
Yeah, I think calling it a $19 billion startup actually gives me a lot of goosebumps because startups don't really have that kind of, paraphernalia and jumpstart, if I may say so. However, let me ask you a question like a devil's advocate. The name changed, the organizational character, culture, all of that will change. But tell me something about the trust that the customers already had in IBM. Is the trust carried forward, and will the trust be built even more aggressively in the new avatar?
I think I would say, Rahul, that's a very deep and honest question, which we asked ourselves as well, right? Which is very important. And that's part of a formative stage as to who we are and what we come from. I think the starting point is that at the core of what we do, we manage the vital systems of our clients. And vital systems of our clients has very clear connotations. A healthcare report coming out on time to a patient is dependent on the systems, the way we build, manage, and operate. Yeah. Connecting people through the telephone calls that get managed and operated by us is connecting people. Enabling banking transactions. So there's the underlying part, even below the technology platform, is the trust platform that our customers, end customers have on them, and in turn they have on us, right? So that's very core, and that's the reason why this whole thing about trust is very, very critical. So as we went through the journey of transferring to a spin-off company, the good part is all our key customers did come across and into the new journey with us, right? Because at the core, what we said is it's the same people that were handling your environment, because it's all about people. Yep. They're part of the new organization. The technology and platforms that we had, we bring it across, but now the opportunity is to take it to a different league because of the ecosystem of partnerships that we bring to the table with hyperscalers, with all of that. So this gave a lot of confidence to the customers that, look, I now have the opportunity of not only having my trusted partner come in, but ability to him to integrate a lot of other pieces of technologies that are there in my environment and still be a single interface to work with. So that's the core of the trust factor. Now, having said that, I think the proof of the trust is in how we live, deliver through the people day in and day out. So which means that how we skill the talent up, how do we ensure that day in and day out we live the promise of our customers, and more importantly, respect, understand, and live up to the promises that they've made to their customers through us. That's how I probably would put it across. So you're right, trust is a very deep thing, and we have to live it every day, day in and day out.
Okay, so let me take the liberty of asking one more, out of syllabus question. After the, rechristening, after the new avatar of this organization, when Kyndryl, since the time Kyndryl was established, what kind of new customers have you added in to the kitty of already existing customers? I mean, we all know about the large laundry list of customers, including the Fortune 500, Fortune 100 customers. But has there been also some kind of attrition in the existing customers and the net new additions? If you would like to speak about that.
I think Rahul, it's been about 3 months, right? And in this industry, the cycles are quite longer for a sales
That's
cycle.
true.
But having said that, while we are still we cannot name those customers who come on board because of the NDA stuff. But I can say that across the globe, we have added a fair amount of new customers on board to us. Let's say new business, whether it's existing customers reaffirming their trust and confidence in us and giving us new scope of business within the existing clients, as well as new customers coming on board. We in India as well have added a bunch of new customers in the last 3 months. So as we go through the phase of completion of transition and starting of contracts, we will make some announcements. But definitely, yes. Now, your next question was about have any customers thing. But I think the way I'd look at it is that the journey of transformation is reflective of the work that goes on. So as customers move to the cloud, then one part of the contract would go, but the other part of the contract would kick in, which is basically the journey. So the changes of delivery in an existing customer reflects the changing journey of the customer and the changing environment, and that's how we are seeing this as well. So the key thing is to be part of the journey, right? And
I can understand.
Stuck with the journey. Right.
Yes, I can understand, and I also appreciate and agree with the fact that it's not been a long time to kind of give a verdict on it and give a very definitive answer to the question. As I said, it was a very impromptu question that I asked. Okay, the next question is something that I would like to kind of not ask literally. I mean, not mean literally what I'm going to say, but in the past 3 consecutive years, there has been a decline in the revenue of the organization. I mean, previous years when it was IBM, not as Kyndryl, but it is quite a humongous amount of net loss also that has been incurred. So how will the company look to turn around this performance? And that also has to be a longer roadmap, part of a longer strategy.
I think Rahul, I think the way we look at this is that there are 2 or 3 very clear, distinctive paths ahead for us, and that's more very critical for us to the way we look at it. The first and foremost thing is that as we come out of being a division of IBM into a new environment or a new company, the addressable market actually doubles for us because of the ecosystem and partnerships that come in front of us, whether it is the hyperscalers in the journey to the cloud, whether it is the application partners, whether it is the startup ecosystem, and also the platform players. So that itself is a great headroom of opportunity. The second thing is, with the new capabilities that we have built into our organization and the ones that we're building as well, with our existing customers, the opportunity to go and expand our footprint is also equally large. A combination of these 2 has a very clear market opportunity or area to work on. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is, I would say, the whole flat and simplifying of the organization to operate, because now we are a small company. In the small company, the way we think and way we operate, right? While still $19 billion, people say is a big one, but the way we think and operate is like a small company. agile, which means that what have we done to make it agile and flat? We basically we basically flattened the organization into a very simple structure. It's 10 countries that report directly to the headquarters, and and the strategic markets grouped together. So with this, any intermediate management layers are not there. So two-thirds of the management decision-making nodes have been removed. Simple flat structure, delegation at the country, and the delegation to the unit in front of the customer to make the decision of what's right. So that's basically simplification of the organization. With that comes a lot of. And lastly, the talent. The core of it is our talent, right? The things that we've been working on, and the way our talent is skilling up, the talent is embracing new challenges, and more importantly, we're able to bring in a good sort of new talent in as well to balance the mix across. As really gives us a great opportunity of headroom ahead, and we're very clearly looking at a strong growth opportunity with a combination of these three things that we spoke about, building on the back of our existing customers and acquiring new customers in new spaces.
Excellent. So moving now on to, those were very business-like questions, but when I now come to the real crux of this conversation. So my first assessment, I mean, that's my own assessment. It might be slightly off track, but when we look at the technology services and management market, to me, it now sounds a little cluttered from the top all the way to the bottom. Because when we talk of the creamy layer of the organizations, there is a lot of concentration happening now. So if I may ask you, where will the future growth for Kyndryl come from? Will it be all sorts of transformational services? Will it be cloud migration? Will it be still the traditional bunch of services, automation, or it will be something else?
I think, Rahul, the way I look at this is there are two dimensions to it. The first dimension is in this whole digital journey and digital transformation. Firmly, there's still a very large segment of customers and the businesses which they're in have evolved over a period of time, right? So our philosophy is to meet clients where they are today and take them to where they need to go. So there is still a significant set of customers who are who've got on-prem world and technologies on-prem, which needs to be managed because either it's because of regulatory reasons or because complex application reason and so on. So first, you've got to run the environment to make sure that mission critical stuff gets delivered. So that's one segment of the market, which is still very sizable. The next segment is this. Within that segment, how do you transform them into the modern, which is modernizing the applications, taking them to the cloud, opening up the APIs, bringing in new place. So that I call them as the transformation part of both existing customers and new customers. Then comes a segment which is primarily no legacy at the back, but straight away go into the new. So there it's about platform-based stuff. So you're not creating stuff you don't have a history to rework on, or you don't have to do that. You start with a clean slate kind of a thing. So that's one dimension of customers, meeting customers where they are in their journey and taking them up. The next dimension of transformation is basically in the whole area of the practices that we're bringing in. So we've announced 6 practices: cloud, data and application data and AI, resiliency and security, digital workplace, network, and then the whole thing about enterprise and Z-Cloud. So with these practices, within each practice, there's an element of new capabilities that are coming in. There's an element of new partnerships that are coming in, which when it goes back to the customers through us, that spurns a degree of transformation as well. So I would say that in the world that we're living in right now, the next 10 years of digital transformation is too less for what happened in the last 10 years. It's going to be really, and that presents an opportunity for everyone in the industry as well.
So you used a word partnership. Now, when you say partnership, is it the partnership with the OEMs, or is it the partnership with the service providers, the integrators? Can you please explain it a little bit?
Yeah, so we use the word partnership and ecosystem interconnected across. So the way we looked at our ecosystem is that at the core of it is the customer. And in the customer's environment, there are different technologies for different tasks or different areas, best of breed as well as existing technologies. So the way we look at our ecosystem of partnerships is one is the hyperscalers, because that's the compute environment, the technology environment. So that's one set of partnerships. The second set of partnerships are the application service partners who have applications as a service platforms. So that becomes a second set of partnership. The third set of partnerships that we talk about is the startup ecosystem, because that's where I see that there's a lot happening in terms of innovation and capability building. So taking them to complement with what we've got across. Fourth, of course, is the OEM manufacturers themselves, where you embed your services or you build your services around the products, whether network products or compute products and so on. So it's basically 4 different categories of partnerships that you bring them together and lay it out in front of to solve a problem in the front.
Got it. So an extension to that question is, for a moment, if we can narrow down this conversation to simply to the managed infrastructure services. Again, there is a formidable list of competitors, including the TCS, the Accenture, Capgemini's, and many more others. So I want to understand from you, give us those few areas where the CIOs, the technology leaders, the CTOs, in fact, the users of the services should trust Kyndryl more than the competition that I have just named.
I think Rahul, I wouldn't try to walk the path of trust of one over the other. I think it's basically, as I said, what is the client's current state of technology presence. So where I would look at it from where we come in from, globally and in India, we are by far have almost twice the market share of the nearest player when it comes to managed infrastructure services, which means that today we have a significant responsibility. I take it as a word, responsibility, to ensure our clients deliver their capabilities to their customers day in and day out. So to give you a perspective, we manage close to 2 million terabytes of storage, 750,000 servers, complex environment. We are VMware's biggest in-house customer itself. And so those are the things that actually come across. So our scale gives us the natural advantage of being able to solve problems because of the spread of customers, the talent that we've got, and the various situations over the last 30 years that you built up on a data lake, and hence you're able to solve problems. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is the within each industry and within each domain, invariably over a period of time, we've built a significant amount of industry-specific domain expertise. We typically manage the leading banks in every country, typically manage the leading telecom players, the leading manufacturing companies, and so on. So by virtue of that, given that the world has now become fairly globalized, the what has happened in one situation in one country in one customer environment is a great learning for us to take back to all the other customers that we engage and learn with through the data lake and data practice that we built across. So that is something which I call as an IP that we've built over a period of time, and that would be a clear differentiator to someone else who's not in that space. But having said that, we are also very flexible and think about the ecosystem that I spoke about to partner with whoever is good at in whichever area they are. In the new world, there's no need to build everything in-house. If there's somebody who's good at something, then there's always an opportunity to partner, because together we can solve a greater problem on hand. So that way, I think every customer has a unique position of where he is in, and we hold their present and take them to the future. That's the opportunity on hand.
No, I completely agree that that the era is gone where you would like to create everything or invent everything on your own. And when there is a healthy ecosystem of partners available who have got greater niches, already in practice, then it's best to partner with them. So, okay, let's focus a little on India. So which practice areas does Kyndryl plan to focus more in India, and how will the skills stack up for those practices?
So Rahul, the way Kyndryl looks at India is on two clear dimensions. The
Mhm.
first dimension is Kyndryl is important for India, and
Mhm.
India is important for Kyndryl. So let me take the first part of Kyndryl is important for India. The reason why I say that statement is because today in the market, the clients entrust us with their core environment. And today, as I said, every telephone call that gets made, or every banking transaction, or every insurance policy that gets processed, Kindle is behind it to making sure it happens. For that matter, even essential services, the milk that gets delivered through Amul or through a mother dairy is being ensured and managed by us. So, given that across, I think the role of the responsible role of while being a market leader to ensure is critical. So that's where the dependence of India on Kindle is very area. Now, coming to the next area about India is important for Kindle as well is primarily because of the fact that a significant part of our global talent base is based in India. And through this talent, we do a whole lot of cutting edge work in the area of research, in the area of data analytics. We've got data scientists, we've got PhDs, we've got our research labs out here. Through this, we deliver capabilities to our customers across the globe
Mhm.
from what we do in India through our 5 or 6 centers. So a combination of these two has helped us on blending the capabilities to our customers. Now, the second, Rahul, I mean, you've been an industry veteran. You've seen that India has always had this advantage in a way, while being late, but advantage of having leapfrog technology.
Yeah.
So, which means that the India market has always put has positively challenged the technology industry in the way that it forces a lot more innovation to come out, whether it is on the cost competitive models or whether it is the fact that we didn't have to go through the mainframe era. We just went to client server and we didn't have to write custom applications. We went to package applications, and then came the advent of mobile. And the whole mobile model in India of the data rates and everything else has basically positively challenged us and many of our peers in the industry from a data and technology perspective of access. So, given all of this across, we've been able to do a lot of what I call India first of a kind solutions, which we've developed for our customers here, tested it out, worked well, and if it works well in India, it works well anywhere else, given the constraint that we operate in kind of area. And that's what's worked well for us. Keeping at the core of this has been a few practices. One is the within the network, it's been about 5G and edge that we see a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
promise in that area. Within the cloud space, it's about modernization and migration transformation. So that's the second area. The third area is the whole area of data, AI, and application, which is to do with looking at data and making meaningful sense out of it, but also predictive analytics around it. Now, thanks to the pandemic, in a positive sense, the digital workplace, the whole model of defining what is a workplace itself has changed. With that comes in the opportunity and ability to modernize the how we approach a digital worker from a technology perspective. Given that today we're so, I would call it as consumerization of IT as an opportunity, Rahul.
Mhm.
Today, everyone is so conveniently using apps and swipe of apps to for personal stuff, whether it's ordering food, hailing a cab, or whichever. So and that's the expectation with which a talent walks into the office environment, and the expectation is that the enterprise applications, enterprise environment betters that experience. So the acceleration to modernize the applications, modernize the interface, and bring in a whole different user experience is a very different opportunity and challenge which throws up. So I think these are a couple of areas in which the world of opportunity is opening up significantly in India, Rahul.
No, I do understand that there is a very different type of thought process for the managed services now vis-a-vis what it was, say, 5 to 10 years ago. People have moved from their conventional way of thinking of how to get more into a managed services mode rather than managing it all internally. However, do you see this percolating down to the most traditional and the most legacy-ridden industries as well, where they have a lot of technology debt already and they are really, even now, they are not ready to get rid of it?
So, Rahul, I think the world in India has definitely changed a lot more faster now than in the last 2 years than before.
Mhm.
Uh, and irrespective of every industry, right? I mean, let's take industries that are heavily have a technology debt. I like the word that you use, technology debt, right?
Mhm.
And if you were to look at it, the challenge and opportunity on hand in front of them is the fact that the industry itself has transformed. And to give you an example, what was previously a telecom company today has either become a fintech company because or they've become a data-based ad tech company, or they've become a security technology services company, and so on, right?
Mhm.
Given those across, irrespective of whether you have legacy or whether you've got new technology at the back end, there are solutions where it allows you to stay where you are and still move ahead. And so companies are taking that advantage and moving ahead, which is where the whole hybrid cloud environment comes in as a solution. That is,
Mhm.
you don't worry about what you've got. It's fine where you are, but with hybrid, you're now able to leverage what you've got, but still leapfrog into the modern world. And that I see it happening in every industry. We've got customers in steel, we've got customers in manufacturing, and each of them, I can tell you, has embraced the new world of technology to not wait for transforming the past, but capturing the future. Some of our clients in the automotive industry, we worked with clients like Honda, clients like Maruti and Volvo Eicher, where the whole connected vehicle as a technology platform of taking in telematics information from the vehicle into the cloud, analyzing it, and providing value services around that to the various segments of users is so very encouragingly different than what a traditional company would do. Likewise,
Okay.
I see that in every industry, Rahul. See that in every industry.
All right. I think, yeah, I kind of agree with you that most of these organizations are actually now thinking differently, or even forced to think differently, because if they have to match up with the disruptors, then this is the only way that they have to focus on business and not on their technology stacks. Okay. One last question before I let you go. After being spun off from IBM, what has been done to also change the legacy of the culture of the organization? How has the culture been planned to change? It's been a very short duration, I understand, but there has been some plan to also inculcate a different kind of culture. As you said, that this is going to be a $19 billion startup. So startup thinks very differently. They have a very different culture. So how does it impact the future of Kyndryl?
I think so. The journey for on thinking about the culture started much before the spin-off, right? Well,
Okay.
the spin-off happened on November, but the thought process and the thinking of because this is a big change, right? And to the big change comes in at the core of it is the culture change. Two things we put across. First thing is at the core of it is defined who's at the core. So we put our customers at the core, customer centricity at the core. And with customer centricity at the core, then we said that people who serve the customer at the closest level have to be the most empowered people, which is the talent, which serve the
Right.
customer right in front. So we created a structure, and with that as a team, then you build structures around it. So first is a very flat structure, which I spoke to you about,
You told
which
about
is
it, yeah.
that's one part. The second part of it is our partner model of structure, which is to the
Mhm.
account we have very senior and very skilled people right in front of the customer through the partner model. So we have senior people like managing partners, we have people like senior partners onto the customers whose only focus is to ensure that how do they make the client successful and in turn become successful. So that's the structure part of it. The third more important part of it is the management model that you want to run with. So the management model we put together is basically a flat, fast, and focused management model by removing the decision-making nodes, by keeping things very simple. We are a services company. At the core of it is people. So very simple, keep things very simple. Delegations down to the right level, which develops a core across, and do what's the right thing from a customer perspective. we are still in this journey. We've taken the right steps, and there's a lot of, especially in the world that we come in from, with talent and people at the core, and in India, people have a lot of ideas and thoughts. How do you channelize that ideas and thoughts into a structurable action? I can tell you, I mean, today we have very interesting conversations, Rahul, and very different ones also. Like, for example, today, as we speak, yesterday, in fact, as we're talking right now, our people are trying to finalize our people who are salespeople, delivery people are trying to figure out what is the color of the carpet in the office, what's the color of the board sign. So that's a whole lot of excitement around building, right? Building something new, engagement, involvement. So that's those are things that are happening across while doing the job that has to be done to serve customers. Likewise, somebody came up with an idea the other day saying that why don't we look at the armed forces as a talent source, right? So last week, 2 weeks ago, we put a platform called Soldier Speak, and in that platform on Soldier Speak, we reached out to defense personnel and made a conscious appeal to them, saying that look at Kyndryl, and as a technology player, wanting to welcome the defense personnel inside. And interestingly, we had the deputy chief of naval staff turn up on the platform, and he was so appreciative of what we're doing. And I'm not taking credit for the platform, but I'm taking credit for the idea that came in from one of our employees, and we were able to put a structure and able to take it, convert that idea, and get the right outcome. So those are how we're looking ourselves as a startup. As I said, a company that comes in with the strength of a 100-year-old legacy, but ability and flexibility of a startup is what is going to define us as a $19 billion startup.
I can totally understand from the kind of passion. I mean, you come from a very, very heavily loaded IBM background, but the kind of phrases you have used, the kind of language you have used during this conversation, indeed, it ensures that the thinking, the mentality, the culture is going to be that of a startup. Thank you very much, Lingu, for participating in this conversation. I am quite enriched, and I'm quite excited to talk to you even in the future. Thank you very much.
Rahul, thank you very much. I enjoyed this conversation as well, and look forward to staying connected.
Absolutely.
And please do stay safe.